Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that almost everything you believed about success was incomplete. Not completely wrong, but missing the pieces that actually make the biggest difference. Most people grow up hearing the same advice. Work hard, stay consistent, believe in yourself. And yes, those things matter. But if that was all it took, far more people would reach the level of success they dream about. The truth is that there are patterns successful people follow quietly, habits they rarely explain in detail, and ways of thinking that most people never notice. Not because they are impossible to understand, but because they require a shift in perspective that many people are not ready for. And once you see these patterns clearly, it becomes almost impossible to ignore them. That is exactly what this video is about. We are going to explore 7 secrets successful people won't usually tell you directly, not because they want to hide them, but because most people never ask the right questions. And if you stay until the end, the final secret might completely change how you think about success, effort, and time. The first thing most people misunderstand is time. Everyone says time is important, but successful people treat time in a completely different way from the average person. Most people organize their day around obligations, interruptions, and whatever feels urgent at the moment. But people who achieve exceptional results begin by protecting their most valuable hours. Early in the day, when their mind is clear and energy is high, they focus on the work that actually moves their life forward. Not small tasks, not distractions. The kind of work that compounds over months and years. Something interesting happens when you start observing highly successful individuals closely. They are not always working more hours than everyone else. In many cases, they are simply using their best hours more intentionally. Instead of reacting to the day, they design it. And one of the small habits many of them share is planning tomorrow before today ends. Just a few minutes of deciding what truly matters can create clarity that most people never experience. But here is where it becomes more interesting. Time alone is not what creates the difference. What they do repeatedly with that time is what changes everything. Successful people are obsessed with improvement in a way that most people underestimate. Not in a dramatic, motivational speech type of way, but in a quiet, consistent, almost invisible way. They are always learning something. Sometimes it's reading. Sometimes it's observing patterns. Sometimes it's studying mistakes they made recently. Over long periods of time, this creates a massive advantage because knowledge compounds the same way investments do. One idea leads to another. One skill unlocks another opportunity, and eventually the gap between them and the average person becomes enormous. There's a famous example often mentioned when people talk about continuous learning. Bill Gates became well known not only for building one of the most influential technology companies in history, but also for his intense reading habits. The interesting part is not just that he reads a lot, but that he treats learning like a strategic advantage. And that's a pattern you'll notice again and again among highly successful individuals. They don't assume they already know enough. They behave like students even when they are already winning. But this leads to another secret that many people don't expect. Most people think success is mostly about doing what everyone else is doing, just doing it better. In reality, many successful people spend a lot of time thinking differently from the crowd. They question assumptions that most people accept automatically. When the majority says something cannot be done, they ask a different question. What if the limitation is only temporary or based on outdated thinking? That shift in thinking has been behind many breakthroughs in business, technology, and innovation. A good example of someone known for challenging common assumptions is Elon Musk. When reusable rockets were considered unrealistic by many experts, he continued pushing forward with the idea anyway. Whether people agree with his methods or not, the pattern is clear. Successful people often examine problems from angles that most people ignore. This doesn't mean they are always right, but it means they are willing to think beyond the default options that limit others. And once you begin noticing this pattern, you realize something surprising. Success is often less about effort alone and more about direction combined with effort. Another secret that many people don't talk about openly is how carefully successful individuals manage their environment. Most people try to rely on motivation to stay productive, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Successful people understand this, so instead of depending on motivation, the odds